Welcome to the One in the Shibal podcast with Susie and Ed.
Who?
Do I normally say Soogia?
Yep.
Yep. Take two.
I was like, who's she? Who's that bitch?
Welcome to the One in the Shibal podcast with Susie and Ed.
Sorry, do it again. Not ready.
Welcome to this. I don't even know what it's called anymore. So what to say? Welcome to the Shibal podcast. Hi, Shiba. Welcome to the One in the Shibal podcast with Susie and Ed.
We're just two Asian Americans talking shit about shit. I'm so tired. How are you, Ed?
Not as tired.
That's good. You're lucky. That's fantastic.
Emotionally exhausted.
Yeah, as usual. I think we're all in that state of mind right now.
Yeah.
I'm also physically so tired. But you know what? I'm here for the people.
Yeah. For me, not much happened. I don't think. I bought plants.
I'm proud of you.
I think after last week when you were like, I killed this plant, I think
feel
I was
so
like,
bad.
I was like, I want plants. And I think I did it for my mental health because normally I like need plants for it to feel like home. But because my house has been so cluttered, I think I didn't because of
the rat thing.
Yeah,
Did you guys take care of the rat thing? We're done with
we
the
got
rat.
we
Is it
thought
over
it was
yet?
taken care of. So like we moved everything out of the pantry. So our house is in complete disarray right now because like everything.
I feel like it's been that way for a while. It sounds
has
like.
been.
Oh my god.
It's been like 3 weeks.
Oh my god.
And like we thought it was over, and then we were finally starting to clean everything and start like I threw all the pantry shelves. I like ordered new ones, bought like all these containers to like organize it better, and like just in case anything happens again, like everything is covered. And then all of a sudden, 2 days ago, Ron's leaving to go somewhere, and he texts me and he goes, one of the rat traps outside under the house has been set off by a ginormous rat. And then the next day, which
was it there? Was it dead? Oh god.
And then two days ago or yesterday, Ron was in the kitchen, and the hole that the rat's been coming through, we left it open because the exterminator was like, he's like, we want it to come through so we can catch it and kill it and get rid of it. So we left it open, and Ron literally goes, a mouse just poked its head through the hole and stared at me. And I was like, God damn it, no. So I
just see Ron like, hey.
Yeah. And I was like, is it a mouse or a rat? He's like, I think it was a mouse, but I don't know. So I texted the exterminator. He's like, sorry, I have the flu right now. He's like, I'll try to get over there as soon as possible. And I'm just like,
this is why you should get your flu shots, people. People need you.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know what to do. So our house is in a bit of disarray.
Oh, God.
I don't even remember why I started telling you this story.
It was just how was your week? I don't even think I asked, to be honest.
Wait.
It was just how was your week? I said I'm tired. You said you're tired from all the cleaning.
Oh, right. So plants. Right.
Oh,
okay.
yeah, plants. We're back to plants.
Plants. So because the house has been in such disarray, I didn't even notice that I took the plants outside a while ago. Mm-hmm. And like once they're outside plants, they're not inside plants anymore for me because I'm terrified of insects.
Oh.
Bugs, And like once they get in the soil, they could have laid eggs, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't want to bring that stuff inside. So I bought new plants.
You're just going to let the other ones just die?
No. They're just outdoor plants now.
But I don't think that's how that works.
They're okay.
Okay.
They're okay so far. So I bought new plants.
This is the lady that killed a fern in a week. You know what I mean? So don't look to me. What the fuck do I know?
I'm
or
like
fern.
Not the best with plants, but I'm not that.
I'm terrible.
My mom has like the greenest thumb ever.
I have no concept.
My mom literally was able to keep, was it annuals that you have to plant every year? She somehow
it's in the name, so it sounds like.
She's been able to keep annuals alive for like 10 years plus. So she's got like this crazy green thumb.
That's crazy. Like, no, my mom too. She has like a full like farm in her backyard, like with like rows of actual like crops and shit. And I'm like, I could never. I wouldn't even understand. No. I have no concept of how to keep them alive.
I got overwhelmed raising one basil plant.
Dude, I have what is it called? The desert ones?
Cactus?
Succulent.
Oh, succulents.
I have succulents in my house, and I'm like, the only reason you're alive is because you're of the desert.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to tell me that you killed succulents. I was like, do you know how
No,
hard
that's
that
like impossible.
Yeah,
no, that's why. I'm like, it's the only way. The only plants I can keep. So.
And they're the coolest.
Yeah, I love them. They're beautiful. So.
I realized that I have a type for plants, and it's like alien or dinosaur plants. Like I bought this monstera plant, which kind of is like a dinosaur plant, and then this other plant, which I forgot what the name of it was, and I'm probably going to download a plant app just so I can look it up. But it also looks like a dinosaur plant, you know?
You're getting super into it. Good for you.
That was majority of my week outside of, you know, still dealing with the family stuff. I had
any new developments?
No, I had a TV show interview yesterday, though. Daily Beast Live.
Oh, that's funny. It's something that I feel like you would tell somebody like me that's your friend. But yeah, okay, what?
I didn't tell anybody. Daily Live Blast. Yeah.
What's that?
It's Daily Blast. Daily Blast Live. It's
what is that?
It's a daytime talk show.
Like on network television?
I think so. Yeah. It is. Maybe cut this part out. It's on network television. There was like commercial breaks and stuff. And it was just like a 5-minute segment. I just didn't want to make a big deal about it. Someone reached out.
I don't want to make a big deal about it, but I'm just going to go on national fucking television and talk about it. That's a big deal already.
I mean, I didn't want to make a big deal about
being
on
there.
TV.
Okay, got it.
So, it was through Zoom, so I wasn't there.
Okay.
But someone reached out to me. They saw my TikToks and they were like, "Hey, we would love to showcase you or whatever." So yeah, it was just like a quick 5-minute thing. They talked about it, wished me luck. The woman who did the behind the scenes to prep and stuff, she at the end was like, "If you need a Jewish mother," she's like, "I'm here." And I was like, "Thanks."
It's really sweet.
Yeah. I was like, a lot of people have actually been telling me that, not the Jewish part specifically, but like the family part.
Yeah. Know? Oh, I bet that's been really nice. Just like an outpouring of support.
Yeah.
I've seen, like, I've read comments and stuff, and I've seen a lot of really nice people saying some really nice things.
And that was my biggest takeaway from it, is just not realizing you had all this other support, you know?
Yeah.
But there is one other thing that I've been kind of panicking about this week is I recently read articles about my family, and I didn't know that my grandfather passed away at such a young age. He died when he was 48. He's the one that started the company.
Oh, really?
During the Korean War. And I believe he passed away from cancer at like 48. Like my dad passed away from cancer at like 48. And I just turned 40. And I didn't know. I knew my dad passed away at a young age, but I just kind of chalked that up to like he was an alcoholic who smoked a lot of cigarettes, you know? So, but like now I'm like, oh no, I think this is hereditary.
Nope.
And I think I only have 8 years left.
Don't go so dark
That's
so quickly.
Where I've been.
Okay.
That's where I've been.
You also have to remember that, especially considering the circumstances around generations before ours, especially in Korea, like wartime, there wasn't a lot of, there weren't cancer screenings. Like you could get screened for cancer right now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your father
Hopefully.
didn't do any of those things. It doesn't sound like.
Yeah.
So
I don't think they knew to.
Yeah. Well, on your 49th birthday, I'm going to send you a big cake and be like, ta-da, you did it. You're going to be okay. We're going to, and you just scared me. Like I'm 48 and I was like,
my life,
I hope this is not through osmosis.
Well, my life just kept like flashing before my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I have 8 years to find a spouse, get married, have a child, and raise until they're 18 years old. I was like, oh my God.
Oh my God,
I was like, there's not enough time.
No pressure, Ed. Just, it's okay.
Whew.
We are not our parents.
Now I'm sweaty.
We are not them. We can do things.
Yeah, but there was like another piece now that I'm like, now I need to know more about my family's health.
That is very coincidental. Yeah. But you can actually find out about your health without necessarily needing them anymore.
Yeah, so
advancements.
After the panic this morning, I was like, oh, I really just need to start getting screened for all the things.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
Is there a thing? I keep wondering. Like, I think I asked my doctor a couple of years ago, like, maybe I'm just thinking too futuristically, where you just like walk into like a scanner, they say,
scan you for everything,
check your blood and like the oxygen levels and are
there any tumors in my brain?
Right, exactly.
Cancer,
I'm like, is that a thing yet? And I'm like, I bet it is. I just can't afford it.
Yeah. Like just drain half my blood and use it for all the tests.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. I don't know. I don't think that exists. But
that guy over there.
That guy.
But how was your week other than being tired? You had a huge tournament.
Well, it's because I'm tired because of my week. My daughter had her second volleyball tournament. And I don't know how many of you out there are sports parents, but as a sport parent, yes, I'm sure there are. You know, it is a tremendous effort on everyone's part. We were up at 4:30 Saturday morning, had to drive, 120 miles away. Is that right? I don't know. A lot of miles away. So many fucking miles, like all the miles away. And then, she played volleyball from 8 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon. drive home, go to sleep, got up, and then we had to leave again at 1:00 for her other tournament, which was another, 65 miles away.
But they didn't tell you where the location of that second tournament was.
So you don't know where you're going until after you the first day.
Get your shit together.
No, but I think it's because it's like in pools, right? So it's like however you finish is wherever you go the next day. And so, as the parents, you undertake a lot, you know what I mean? Because you're out of the house for 12 hours. You're driving on the road for, multiple hours at a time. You have to figure out like the schedule for the playing and then the food and when are they going to eat? What are the breaks like? So it's a really coordinated effort and it takes a lot, so.
While also trying to coordinate as their coach, the team and how to win.
Well, I'm not the coach for this.
Oh, you're not?
Oh, no. I'm her school coach. This is club. Club is different.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So her school season is over. This is for her club.
Yep.
Which is so intense. And you go out there and it's hundreds of people, 6 courts going at once, so many little girls with high ponytails. I mean, like, it is crazy. Like, it's so crazy. And like, you get kids from all over California. And it's really funny. My daughter made this observation and she's like, she said, it's interesting to me to look at the demographics of the team. And I was like, say again?
She's like, all white?
Well, no, because you get kids from all over. So like in, teams from like San Diego, you'll get a certain demographic. Teams from East LA, different demographic. There was one team was all South Asian girls. Another team, it looked like they were all Samoan girls. I mean, you know what I mean? So she's like, is it racist to notice? I'm like, no, it's not racist to notice. You have eyes. It's just an observation. And I think it's actually a very astute observation. Yes, you're going to get kids from certain demographics to play certain clubs because this is just kind of like community outreach.
Yep.
And how, but her team, she's like, I'm really happy to see how diverse my club is because her club really is. So there are, white girls, East Asian girls. I think there's Southeast Asian girls, mixed, biracial girls. I think are a couple of Black girls. There is, Hispanic. It's really diverse. Her team is really diverse. So she was really happy. Like, she's like, I feel really good being on this team of like so many different, types of girls. And I was like, that's really awesome. It's awesome that you would notice it. And she's, she didn't cast any judgment about it. She's just like trying to make an observation and trying to be like careful about her observations. And I thought that was really cool to like be able to have a conversation with her about.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so, it's exhausting, but it's so fun. God, it's so fucking fun. It's so exciting. There were times where I'm like trying to like film her and I realize I'm squeezing my phone so tight because it is so intense. It is so fucking intense. But it's, it's so fun. And I think it's something so exciting and like, we really have connected over it.
It's like sometimes I don't realize when I'm doing something intense and I'm like, oh, I've been holding my breath because it just almost passed out.
No, totally.
Yeah, when you're
right. Or like, I'm like, how long has my tongue been out? Because I'll be like, thinking really hard. I'm like, oh my God, has that been my face for how long?
Yeah.
But yeah, so, it's been a fun weekend. I'm just fucking tired. I'm so tired.
I feel like the tongue sticking out is less worse than the face I make when I'm thinking.
Less worse is so better. Mm-hmm. What's the face?
I make this face.
Oh God.
Yeah. I like.
Were you trying to smell your upper lip?
Yes. That's what it is. It gives me some sort of like comfort.
I can't reach it.
And I've been doing it since I was a little kid when my grandmother was still alive, and she passed away when I was 12.
Yeah.
And she always used to be like, oh, she used to be like the 닭 똥구멍이 얼굴. She used to call it
butthole face?
Chicken butthole face. She used to be like, you're making a chicken butthole face.
Wait, I have to think about what a chicken butthole looks like. Oh.
Like a normal butthole? I don't know.
No.
I don't know what a chicken butthole looks like.
Because a chicken butt has like the little like tail piece. Well, because I've dissected, my grandmother killed chickens in our backyard.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've cooked whole chickens before.
I cooked whole chickens. I've never looked at their butthole.
Well, then think about the back of a chicken butt, right? When you, like, imagine it flipped over. It has that little, like, knob in the back.
And I thought that was for their tail.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So is she talking about, like, how your nose comes down and covers the butthole?
You're getting so analytical.
Well, listen, these are your grandmother's words. I want to honor what she said. So your mouth goes like this and your nose comes down like this. So picture it. Look, it looks like that. Chicken butthole. She was absolutely right.
I don't think it was. Look. I don't think it was that deep.
I mean, listen.
But yeah.
I know what your grandmother meant. I wanted to get to the bottom of it, no pun intended.
But I make this face.
That looks like a chicken butthole now that I think about it.
And it's funny, I'm not the only one that does it. I sometimes see in public and I just want to be like, ooh, you, but I don't
Maybe
wanna...
don't scream chicken
Yeah,
butthole.
that's what I won't. I don't. But sometimes in my head, I'm like, ooh,
Ooh, chicken butthole
I'm
face.
not a weirdo.
No, I mean, you still are, but now there are additional weirdos. So let's make sure we get that all, worked out.
Better than this, though. Oh, no. Worse than that. Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to segue right into the advice.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, though, with all of this...
Speaking of,
yes.
non sequitur.
Speaking of all of this life experience...
Is that the segue we're working with? Okay. Okay, I was going to go with, we don't know why.
Yeah, because of all of this amazing life experience we have, people sometimes write us asking for advice.
Listen, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but people do sometimes write into us asking us for our advice or thoughts on certain things.
Wait, speak for yourself. I feel like I give decent advice. My whole life is in shambles, but I'm really good at other people's lives.
But the thing is I feel like giving advice in a way like this is we don't often know what the outcome of the advice is that we've given. So we might think that we're giving good advice, but we don't know that in practice it actually was, is what I'm saying. I think I'm good at giving advice as well. But again, I don't know if it always works out.
Yeah, fair. Meh. I feel like I'm good. I feel like I'm pretty good at advice.
I feel like we're good at advice. I feel like I'm good at giving advice. I'm not always great at taking advice, to be honest. So when people ask, I will always, of course, be open. So yeah, so people do write in to us every once in a while, asking us for our advice, and we are happy to give it. I do want to preface this by saying we are not professionals in any field that should garner either of us giving advice. But we're going to do it anyway.
Also,
so please
not all of these are directly from Reddit.
No, right.
Some of them are sourced from the internet as well. But we're just going to give unwarranted...
I also am always just interested to see what somebody else would say in such circumstances. Yes. So I'm always interested to see what Ed's advice would be in situations.
So not only just ours, but if you think your advice is different than the ones we're giving, feel free to let us know in the comments.
I would love to know.
Most of you are probably going to agree with me, though.
We might not differ, you psychotic freak. God, why is he like this? Always so competitive. So weird.
This is my toxic trait.
So toxic.
I'm so toxically competitive.
Go.
Okay. This one was written... Okay.
To us?
Okay, here we go. Hello there. My name is Jules, and I have a question about whether or not something is disrespectful to Asian culture or considered appropriation, and not sure how to address it to my boss.
Oh, that's awkward.
I wondered if you'd be able to help me, and I apologize if this isn't the forum to be able to ask this question either. I work in an after-school program for kindergarten to 5th grade. My program this year has been implementing a curriculum for specific STEM and craft projects within the last month. They used chopsticks as part of a challenge, as well as replacing a project with chopsticks painting this week. As someone who is one of, I think, possibly 2 Asians who work at this company, and I have to implement this curriculum since I'm a curriculum specialist. By the way, this is a brand new position this year. I can't put into words how I feel about the usage of chopsticks into our program, which is held in a predominantly white populated town. I understand integrating different cultures, though I'm not sure if it is being done well. The first challenge and introduction to chopsticks was using chopsticks to transfer certain colored palms into a bowl. Then the chopstick painting layer was introduced, and I guess I could understand maybe getting a different texture or stroke from it, though I'm not seeing a point they could be trying to get across implementing that into the curriculum. There was another incident where we drew our hand and arm onto a paper and used a henna stencil to recreate henna on paper before Thanksgiving on a full day program. I know while at certain points in the past, henna became a trend, I understand that henna is used in ceremonies like weddings, and it does feel a bit whitewashed to implement that craft into our program. Do you have any thoughts about this and how to best approach my boss with thoughts, which I'm still trying to have words for? Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. I really appreciate you guys creating a podcast to delve deeper into subjects. Best Jules. They, them pronouns.
Thanks, Jules, for writing in. Thanks for writing in, Jules. I think you are in a particularly unique position in that you are a curriculum specialist. So I feel like you have a hand in how information is disseminated to the kids. If that's the case, then I would probably say if you're going to be using different tools and implements to integrate into the curriculum, I would probably advise that there be just like a little bit of an introduction as to what that is and its cultural significance to whatever culture it came from. And it doesn't, I think a lot of people have this really huge misconception about what I say. And they think that I think anything that has other cultures involved requires this like, dissertation to be delivered to before it's no. Hey, we're using chopsticks. If you don't know, chopsticks come from Asia and they're, used in Asian countries to eat, like just like how we have. I mean, these are kids, so you say like, just like we use forks and spoons in a lot of Asian countries, they use chopsticks. Have you ever used chopsticks? Well, today we're going to use them in a different way and we're going to use them to paint. You know what I mean? Like, as long as I think if you give them the information that the accurate information and then, make something creative from that, I don't consider that to be appropriative. I don't at all. I think it's, as long as you are very demonstrative in what it is, I don't see a problem with it, to be honest.
I agree with the chopsticks. The henna, I feel a little differently about the henna.
Because it's more sacred?
Yeah, because I feel like this one specifically feels like, oh, even if they were to give background on it, it would still be them being like, oh, it's sacred to this culture, but we're going to use it as like temporary ink.
Right.
And that part does feel a little appropriation-y to me.
I don't disagree with that. Yeah. I don't disagree with that. I think with the chopsticks, I think that's one thing.
Yeah. So that's just like an eating utensil, like getting them to use it, like putting the palms in the thing. Like that's kind of just like teaching
dexterity
kids how to dexterity.
And yeah.
The painting thing, well, maybe a little bit iffy, but still, I don't think it's
but
anything
I feel like
bad.
They could have just as easily used anything else. Like they have like puffy paint that comes out of like a little tube. Like they could have done that.
So the chopstick thing of the painting to me is a little bit weird.
Yeah.
But the henna thing does kind of feel like that's a little inappropriate.
Yeah, I might agree with that. Look, see, we agreed. Blowing our fucking minds every day.
We agree often.
I know
we
really
just like
do.
to bicker.
Oh, do we? Do we like to bicker? But
I
thanks
like
again.
to instigate.
Yeah, exactly.
We both like to bicker.
But thanks again, Jules, for writing in. And I think it's really important for you as an educator to be mindful of those things. So I think you're doing all the right things.
I think you are doing all the right things.
Next. Hello. I'm greatly in need of some advice. My wife and I have been married almost 2 years on paper and 1 year since ceremony. I recently found out, invasion of privacy on my part, that she will leave me in a couple of years when she gets her citizenship.
How did you find that out? How did they find it out?
We had a fight recently and she was being distant with me, so I went through her messages on her phone. She doesn't have a lock code on her phone. That does not mean... Anyway. In her text with her sister, she mentioned... I think
they were just trying to illustrate that, like, they didn't do anything super sneaky to do it. It was just, like, a thing of convenience, which I'm not agreeing with.
Barriers of privacy.
No, I agree.
Yeah, right, okay.
I agree.
In her text with her sister, she mentioned that she would leave me in 2 years, and she even sent a screenshot of a coworker texting her compliments on her looks. There's no other proof of any other conversation with coworker. Maybe it's through Teams at work. My heart sank to the floor after reading these messages with her sister. I've had sleepless nights thinking about this. I've kept this to myself and haven't told anyone. Except the internet.
Except the world.
We eventually made up and everything went back to normal, or at least I thought it did. However, my wife recently texted her sister. So you're continuing to go through.
Yeah.
Asking her sister her social security so that my wife can make her the beneficiary for her insurance at work instead of me. Now I have no idea what to do or what steps I need to take. Should I confront her and admit that I've read her messages? Should we seek marriage counseling? Should I talk to a divorce lawyer? A lot going on.
So they
here.
write that they eventually made up, and I'm guessing from the fight, but it's not really explained if the text with the sister happened before or after during after the fight.
I text my sister shit all the time. I'm like, I swear to God, I'm going to murder my husband. I'm not going to murder my husband, but these are all euphemisms. But I don't know that, like, I swear I'm going to leave him in 2 years to get citizenship is a euphemism.
No, that sounds like
that's very
I've been thinking about this.
That's very specific. Yeah. Or not even just I've been thinking about this, or like this was my plan all along. I
don't know. I would look at the rest of the marriage. If things don't feel genuine, if you feel like there isn't love in there, I don't know. I can get a little vindictive. I would take that text to an immigration lawyer.
Damn. I don't know. What would I do?
You're using me for a green card and you admitted it and you're actively thinking about it all the time? No. No. We're going to get this marriage annulled and you're going to get kicked out of this
What
country.
if he like really loves her and wants to try to make it work?
We don't know if it's a he, but probably.
No,
maybe.
we don't.
But even if they do really love them, this is sad. You're not gonna convince them to love you. You might, but like, do you really want someone who got into a marriage with you to use you?
No, of course not.
Like, you deserve better. You deserve better. Be vindictive sometimes.
That's always Ed's answer.
Why? What would you do?
I don't know.
You're thinking, Faith. I was making it.
I don't know. Only because like I would probably, I don't know, because it's really difficult. Because number one, you have to admit that you went through their phone.
I feel like that pales in comparison to I'm using you for a green card.
Well, the reason I say that is because if I said, now maybe I'm getting a little too deep into this. If I said I went through your phone and I found your text messages, it could very easily be like, well, this is one of the reasons why I want to leave you, because you don't trust me and you treat me like this and you go through my shit and you make me feel like I have no privacy of my own. Why wouldn't I want to leave you? Oh, well, that makes sense too.
Yes, we'll let the courts decide.
So then I would think like, oh, I better find out more information that she planned this before, so that she can't say that it's because of this, that you know what I mean?
That is a good
you got to go deeper. You got to think two steps ahead.
So you have to go through her phone even more.
You got to find shit before that proves that she would have said and done that.
So go back into her phone and scroll so far up.
That's crazy.
But sometimes that part does have to be said. If this person's been going through their wife's phone this whole time, that's one thing.
Right.
But sometimes people are like, you went through my phone. It's like, but you gave me reason to go through your phone.
But what was the reason? They were distant?
Well, that's what I mean. They don't really tell that part, because it could have been from the fight and they were just being vindictive, or it could have been like for a couple of years now, they've been like, something is off. And this fight really is like making me question the relationship. You know what I mean? We don't know those details. So I say we don't, skewer them for going through their phone. But
I don't know. Privacy is a big thing for me.
I do agree.
There's a difference between secrecy and privacy. I'm a very firm believer in that.
Do you allow your husband free access to your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, see?
But she didn't, there are no locks on her phone. There's no locks on their phone. So we don't know that they don't.
We don't, but I feel like it's probably less toxic in your marriage to just be open and honest.
I just don't go through my husband's phone. I don't care. I'm like, yeah, you're gonna have a girlfriend? Leave her or leave me. Go. I fucking dare you. See you later, dude. No, I'm just kidding. I trust my husband maybe too much.
Yeah, but I
me.
feel like that's a healthy way. You know what I mean? Yes, you shouldn't be going through each other's phone, but if you're being shady.
My husband has told me the code for his phone a dozen times. I can never remember it. I'm like, what is it again? He's like, well, at least I know you'll never go through my phone. I'm like, I don't think I could if I wanted
this is
to.
A very good ruse.
I mean, yeah, right.
What's your phone again?
Yeah, I'm playing chess, sir. You're over here playing checkers.
Good times. Next one. Oh, this one's sad. Every holiday, I'm bombarded with images of happy, smiling people spending time with their families. My parents don't speak English and aren't open to new ideas, so I'm unable to talk with them. And I also don't have any friends. I don't have anyone to talk with.
Oh.
Anyone have any advice for how to not feel lonely and depressed during the holiday season?
First, before you go into what you say, I will tell you this much. So much of what I see when it comes to the holidays and how happy everybody is so fake. And I can tell you this from personal experience. We don't even do this anymore because it's so enraging, or at least it used to be.
The holiday photos.
We have friends who set up this photographer. We all go to the same place, and the families kind of wait their turn, and we all go take family photos or whatever. There is so much yelling. There's so much, God damn it, stand over here and fucking smile. Hold the fucking bear higher. Hold the bear higher. You know what I mean? It's like, there is nothing jolly about that experience. Nobody is having fun. Everybody is sweating through their matching outfits. So please understand, much of what we see on television and on the internet and in our little perfect Christmas cards, a lot of it is not real. And a lot of the joy is is fake and
It's so
completely manufactured because we want to create these images of perfect family relationships and holiday spirit and cheer. And behind that is a sweating mom and a dad who's just disconnected and kids who are miserable. You know what I mean? Not always.
So much eye rolling.
But so much eye rolling, and a photographer who's like doing a squeaky toy to try to get the baby to fucking look. You know what I'm saying? So yes, I know it may feel like this to you, but remember on the other side of that, it's a lot of it is just fucking smoke and mirrors anyway.
Yeah, and
That's
to be
just the
honest with
truth.
you, I know on camera, on social media, on TV, it looks great. These like families interacting, but like when you think about it, and I know this isn't for everyone, but maybe it's because I'm an introvert with high anxiety, but like when I'm around people, I am anxious the whole time. I
Mhm.
hate it. I hate going to people's families. I hate going to my family. I hate being like, oh, hey, like, okay, cool, 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 cool. I don't really care what happened to you, but I'm going to ask and like pretend I care. And like, I really just want to go home. I really just want to eat, go take a shit and leave, like go to
Right.
sleep and hug my dogs. You know what I
Right.
mean?
But we
So,
don't want to dismiss how you feel.
no,
That's
of
obviously,
course.
you know, I don't want to dismiss the fact that you are feeling the way that you feel, because that is
Yeah.
absolutely so valid. And I know that.
But I know the feeling. Like
Yeah.
sometimes when you're looking at those things, you're like thinking about what you don't have and you like forget some of the realities of
Right.
stuff. And I'm not saying that you feel that, but I don't know. There's been within the last like 5-6 years, I've actually had to spend Christmas by myself a couple times. And the first time, the thought of it was really depressing
Mm.
because it wasn't my choice. My roommate was leaving to go visit his family. My family hadn't moved to LA yet from Chicago, like my aunt's family. And my cousin, who, my mom's best friend's son, who had the baby that, I spent Thanksgiving with, they had at those times, like they just had a baby. And I was just like, I think they had like, my cousin's family was visiting. So I was just like, I'm going to leave it alone. And so I like chose to spend Christmas by myself. And I had to learn to change the narrative from being like, this is depressing, to being like, no, this is going to be like looking for the silver lining, being like, this is going to be great because like I work every day. I had the shop and, the gallery. So I was like, I have to work every day. I was like, I'm constantly having to worry about something. I was like, this is the one day that I'm not going to have any responsibilities.
Yeah.
And then I even
No
thought to myself, I
obligations.
was like, you know what? I don't even have to eat Christmas food. I was like, you know what I haven't had in a while?
Fried chicken.
I was like, delicious pizza. So then I
Mm.
bought like 2 pizzas.
I love a Christmas pizza.
Yeah, I bought two pizzas on Christmas Eve because I didn't want people to work on Christmas,
Yeah.
So like ordered 2 large pizzas, and between the Christmas Eve evening until the end of Christmas Day, every time I got hungry, I just warmed up a slice or 2 of pizza. I watched movies, I cuddled with my dog, I
Yeah.
played video games. Like I didn't have to be responsible for anything.
Right.
And when I stopped thinking about what I was missing out on and tried to turn it into what the day I wanted, the sadness kind of went away. And it
Yeah.
went to the point where like the next Christmas, when my roommate was gone again, I like chose not to do anything. And I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? I really enjoyed eating pizza all day and not putting on clothes
Right.
and not doing anything.
Yeah. God, I haven't
Like
had a
I didn't
day
have
like
to
that
ask
for years.
anybody how their day, like, oh, Merry Christmas, like, what did you? Oh, cool, 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 cool. Like, I don't care.
Yeah.
I didn't have to do any of that. So, like, I'm not saying that you might. I'm again not trying to dismiss
Sure.
their feelings or anything like that, but like, try to not think about what you're missing
Or
out
plan
on.
something that
Yeah.
it was fun for you
Do
to
something for
do.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, make it like a spa day for you in your
Right.
in mentally.
Right. Oh.
Oh, the beginning of this one is hilarious.
You read it. I don't want to say that.
I hate my white father-in-law. Content warning. He's a bully who belittles others, so there's going to be examples of him being dismissive and toxic.
Oh, okay.
I, 27 Filipina female, have been with my husband, 27 white male, since high school. We married right after college. His dad has always been one of those white guys that feign liberalism, but actually treats people of color and working class folks poorly.
Red flag.
Yep. Everything about him is white savior and virtue signaling. He teaches at a community college, and his rate my professor is atrocious because he believes community college is beneath him to teach at and talk shit about his students to us all the time.
Oh.
He also bullies them and looks down on them. He undermines and belittles everything I do. When I got a job, instead of congratulating me, he thanked my sister-in-law's husband for telling his mom to get me a job, despite the fact that she had nothing to do with it and she was long retired from the company. Even my sister-in-law's husband called out my father-in-law for it because it was incredibly rude. He has a long paper trail of always undermining and dismissing me. He also loves pitting my husband and me against my sister-in-law and her husband, despite the fact that none of us want to compete. It'll also be always an unfair competition since my sister-in-law's husband comes from an extremely wealthy family and is white, whereas I'm an immigrant and grew up working class, and no, it doesn't impress him that I graduated from the same prestigious uni as them despite having less growing up. That doesn't faze him at all. My husband has always been passive all of his life, but after his dad and I got into an argument about laundry, he was crashing at the night at our place since he's been alone ever since his wife has been 3 states away. And the father-in-law lied and told my mother-in-law that I started the conflict. By the way, my amazing mother-in-law has since apologized to me. I adore her so much. My husband has no choice but to confront his dad. My father-in-law is currently stonewalling my husband, and I feel so bad because my husband, who's always so kind and compassionate, is going through so much because of me. He keeps saying I'm worth it, and this is something he has to do. Anyone have any advice? What can I do to make things easier for my husband? Should I just tell him to give up the fight? Thank you in advance.
Fuck no. What?
Also, it's not because of you. It's because of his dad.
Yeah, exactly. You're just, I mean, let's be honest. I don't imagine that the dad is that awesome with his kids. You know what I mean? If he can be that way, I feel like you are purely just like a symptom of a greater problem. And now everything's just kind of focused on you right now. But obviously, like, I think your husband has got some shit to work out with his dad. Let him. Fucking let him. And if this is something that, if you say that your husband has been passive his whole life, well, here's an opportunity to not be. And what better opportunity than to do it, you know, on behalf of his wife, who he should have been defending from the beginning and should have never let this get as far as it already has. Because it sounds like this has been a pattern of behavior of his for as long as you've been together. And so the thing is like to passively watch as somebody in your life belittles a person that you love in this kind of way,
especially your spouse,
wife,
and family,
or you know what I mean? Like to watch that happen and to not say anything. If it comes to a head and fucking crashes and burns, so be it. Because it's a long time coming, if you ask me. And it could have been taken care of a long time ago. But your husband chose not to. So now's the fucking time.
Yeah,
well.
I mean, honestly, that would have been a red flag for me to even get married.
Get married, yeah, no.
Yeah, because
no
it's
way.
like, it's one thing to be passive against me up to a certain point.
Yeah.
But what about the future kids?
Yeah. I broke up with my college boyfriend because of his parents.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not dealing with this. And they were Korean and they were fucking awful to me. And I was like, you know what? You haven't said shit to them. You've never defended me to them. Fuck you. Fuck them. See you later. I'm fucking out. I'm not doing this. I'm not letting you do this to me. Fuck you.
That's why the ex-girlfriend that I dated for like 6 years, like I had a hard time pulling the trigger with them because like her family they weren't racist or rude, but there was like a lot of microaggressions and weird stuff. And I was like, I'm
not dealing with this.
I will deal with this, but I'm not, you're not doing that to my kids.
Absolutely fucking
and
not.
I'm going to be the asshole if I'm like, nope, you can't take the kids to see your family because like I'm the asshole.
But also you shouldn't deal with it either. Like just because you can take it doesn't mean you should.
Yep.
Fuck that.
I agree.
Well, I mean, you're already kind of deep into it because you're already married. So
but it doesn't sound like they have kids. There's divorce. Not as messy.
That's not always the answer.
I know.
But I would say this: if he's willing to stand up for you now, this will be hopefully, you know, just a change of character for him in that way, and you know, you two can go forward together.
Yeah, I say now is the judgment time. See how he acts.
Right.
Have the conversation with him now of how it affects you and how it's going to affect if you don't already have kids, your potential kids.
Right.
And see how he reacts and go from there.
Yeah, maybe they don't even want kids, but still.
Yeah.
Do you want that for your life? Every time you're around that part of your family that you're just always uncomfortable and annoyed and like angry? No.
Because we could be hopeful for karma, but sometimes those people, they are so miserable, they like hold on to life.
Yeah.
For dear
and
life.
Karma is sometimes slow.
So slow.
Sometimes just be karma.
Long burns.
Please help. My partner keeps asking me to promise him I will never marry anyone else if he dies. No matter what?
Possessive much?
We are 25 and 28. We are healthy. We are engaged.
Healthy physically.
Yeah, right. This conversation has caused me to cry from stress and grief in the past. He promised he would not bring it up again because it wasn't fair to ask this. He is convinced his soul will... Sorry. He's convinced his soul will be heartbroken. I'm sorry. He brought it up for the third time. He says he has trauma and has watched this happen so many times to others. Watch what? He is telling me I don't love him and he doesn't feel safe if I don't make him this promise. I am sick of having to sit here and imagine him dying and what I would do.
Abort.
Jump ship, babe.
Yeah.
You gotta go. I'm sorry.
That's crazy. So he has it in him to visualize himself non-existent as a soul, but he can't use that same energy to try to humanize the other person and what it's like living with the loss of their life and then having, like, imagine he died tomorrow. You expect her to live for the next, like, 60 years alone.
Right.
Because you're insecure.
Or
selfish.
you are so self-aggrandized. Like, I'm so great. You can't do this to me. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Also, what is this? He says he has trauma and has watched this happen so many times to
that's
others.
what I'm
Watch
saying.
what? You watch somebody's spirit get sad? You watched a ghost get sad because they married somebody? Sir, what are you? Hello?
He's literally just describing the movie Ghost.
That was so good, actually. I just watched it the other night. I forgot how good it was. I cried so hard. It was so funny. It's a perspective. We'll circle back to Ghost in a second. Okay, because I was
what just happened here? Susie just went through a journey of emotions on her own.
I want to circle back to that in a second. But projecting onto somebody how insecure you are at the idea of them being with somebody else, that even in your death, you can't handle the thought, tells me a lot about what your marriage is going to be like. Oh my God. If he can't, what if somebody smiles at you at a restaurant? What if, like, I've sat at bars before and my husband will go up and, like, go to the restroom or something, and a man will approach me and talk to me, and my husband will come up and he's just like, so what'd you guys talk about? You know what I mean? Like, knowing that, like, obviously nothing is going to...
joining us tonight?
Right.
Yeah.
And he has a great, way about, dealing with things like that. But I don't feel like you in that situation will have as favorable an outcome. And I don't think that you're going to be able to live a normal, healthy life in a relationship with somebody who is secure enough to let you live.
Look,
like, oh my God.
This isn't even that long of a story, and it screams two of the worst red flags in any relationship: insecurity and selfishness.
Yes.
Those are literally the two worst traits to have in a partner.
Because all of those things breed other things, right?
Yes.
Like mistrust and things like that. And they're going to start going through your phone. You see where I'm going?
These people who are insecure and selfish will justify anything for their own selfish reasons, and that is not a relationship you want to be in for the rest of your life.
No, and you're still young.
This one's so loud. Please leave.
Yeah. So what I was going to say about ghosts is the show that I also like. Oh, I like things about ghosts. Anyway,
the Jennifer Love Hewitt one? No, that's Ghost Whisperer.
Yeah, no, this is the
Ghost,
about the mansions.
One.
It's so funny. I love it. Next season starts in February, but I talk about this often, is like perspective shifts and like mind shifts in when you're watching a movie. Like, I watched Ghost when I was young and I watched it again as an adult. And usually you identify with the protagonist or whatever. So I identify with Patrick Swayze and he dies and he's trying to like solve this mystery and like whatever. And I was like, oh, like that's kind of who I always identified with because I put myself in that position. But this time when I watched it, I put myself in Demi Moore's position.
I always sympathize with Demi Moore.
Oh, well, maybe because trauma and loss and things like that. So that makes sense.
Emo.
Sorry. But I identified with her character so much this time watching it. And I guess, again, watching all the movies from my childhood now, I just cry. I just cry the whole time. Like all the scenes where Sam comes back and she's like talking to him either like through just like out loud or, through Oda Mae or like whatever. I was hysterically crying because I was like, the loss she must feel. And I would feel that way if it was my husband and like whatever. I was like, whoa, man. So I feel like right now I have to go back and watch all the movies that I watched in my childhood.
The first thing I think of is Home Alone. It's like when you're a
right.
kid, you're like, this is amazing. What a dream.
I identify with Catherine O'Hara, and I'm like, if I
Yeah.
was on a plane and my 8-year-old kid was by himself,
Yeah.
I would lose my mind.
But that's the thing. As a kid, you don't really pay attention to that part of the story
Right.
with Catherine O'Hara freaking out and
Totally.
trying to being like, all right, fine, you guys take the next plane. I'm going to ride with these random strangers, which try to get there a little bit earlier. Like,
Poltergeist.
yeah, it is Poltergeist. Yeah.
Poltergeist. The kid is in the thing, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I was that kid and I was in the ghost world, I'd be so scared or like whatever. I am now like, oh my God, if I was Carol Ann's mom, I'd be freaking out and I would tie that rope and I would jump into the nothing. I would go get my fucking kid. Like, it's crazy.
Dang. Now I'm wondering, did I grow empathy because I always saw both sides when I saw movies, or did I see both sides of movies because I have high empathy?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Chicken or the egg.
Chicken or the egg?
It's so hard to know.
Is it wrong for me to want to break up with my partner because he's in so much debt?
How much is so much?
Oof. He got kicked out by his family at a young age for something he had no control over, so he had to take out loans for school. His credit card is maxed, and so was his line of credit. Fast forward to today, we've had to postpone moving in together twice because I know that's going to financially strain him when we rent a place together, moving costs. We have to carefully plan our trips and cheap out, staying in 2-star hotels. I sometimes have to cover for him so his credit card won't be maxed out. When he does pay me back, I sometimes tell him he owes me less than what he actually does. I've told him to spend his money smarter, use his credit less, or try to pay that off aggressively, but it's really tough. Does this make me a terrible person or someone who is ungrateful and materialistic? I know it's not his fault for being in this situation, but dating him for over a year, I feel like it's going to affect our relationship in the long run.
It will.
Possibly. I feel like we're going to differ on this.
Financial literacy is very difficult, and it's not something that everybody just knows.
And it should be taught in school because it's not.
Right. My ex-husband was not great with money, and we fought about it all the time. All the time. We weren't married for very long, but we fought about it even before we were married. And that was actually, if we come down to it, probably the reason. Because not just because of the money, it was because I knew that I would have to be responsible for everything forever, and that it would be my responsibility to make sure that our family's finances were always taken care of. And that is a huge burden for one person to have to take care of. I know that, like, you know, the head of the household, blah, blah, whatever. I look at it more at like it should be a partnership because it's so much to have to think about, you know, in a family household. Like, it's so crazy. There's so many things you have to think about. And to know that I was going into it with somebody who not didn't care, but just didn't have the ability to like really help me. I was like, I'm out. I can't. I don't. If we bring kids into this, like, it's going to be so scary.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like it depends on, like, because your example was your ex was just bad with money.
Yeah.
I can't tell if this person is bad with their money or they're just like having a hard time getting out of their shitty financial situation.
Well, I think what this is telling me is that they never learned financial literacy. They never learned how to manage their finances. So if you want to take the time to teach them things, then you can do that. But that can also be very frustrating and be an intense undertaking. You know, so if you wanted to do that, sure. But it just sounds like they just never learned. And then they got down on their luck because of how they had to survive, which I totally get and absolutely understand how that can happen. It can happen to anybody. You know, but that will definitely be something that you have to commit to.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. How do you set boundaries with Asian parents? Is it even possible?
Great question.
It says 1 a.m. I am 35 years old and they still talk to me like a child and don't respect my opinions. They believe they know better when it comes to everything from my health to how to raise my kids. They'll say very, very hurtful things, but won't believe that it affects other people because how can words hurt? Quotes. How do I love them and show my appreciation, but at the same time also protect my mental health and sanity?
It's a great question. And this is something that I have personal experience with because my parents are very similar. My parents are very, very loving people and they have a hard time understanding. I think culturally, just like that words are very painful and can hurt. And I think what a lot of people have a hard time understanding from what I've seen is the concept of boundaries. And I think a lot of people think that boundaries are something that you tell somebody else to do. These are my boundaries, so you don't do these things. No, boundaries are for yourself.
Yeah.
Right. No, but you set the boundary and it's on you. Mm-hmm. Mom, Dad, when you tell me X, Y, and Z, I feel this way. So I'm going to I'm going to leave the room when you act like this, or I'm going to take myself out of the situation in order to protect myself and my sanity and my well-being. And so I'm going to walk away. It's not, if you do this, I'm going to yell at you and these are your consequences. No, this is how I'm going to protect myself in this situation. These are boundaries that I set. So on this side of that boundary, this is what's going to happen for me. I can't control you anyway. Whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going to say, that's what you're going to do and say. But just know that when you do say these things, this is how I'm going to react. This is how I'm going to protect myself. That's what boundaries are. And I think a lot of people have a really misconstrued idea of what boundaries actually are.
I mean, if you think about actual like boundaries too, like your house, that imaginary line that goes around your house and your property. Like if someone steps on it, it's on the homeowners to be like, no, Second Amendment rights or whatever it is. Like those are boundaries. You
could start by asking them to leave.
Yeah, but I mean, like it's on you to enforce it. Is my point.
Right.
And like I 100% get this because my mom talks to me like a child still, and to this day, my mom's famous line for almost everything is, even if I told you, you wouldn't understand.
Right.
Right. You know what I mean? So it's like literally like you're so young and stupid that you wouldn't even, you know what I mean? And it wasn't healthy. But for me, my boundary was every time you do these things I ask you not to, you will watch me have a mental breakdown. You know what I mean? And it took a while.
Yeah.
But you have to keep enforcing it. And once they cross that boundary, the 1 or 2 times that you let it go, you're not enforcing the boundary. And now they're thinking to myself, well, I guess this isn't something that's important to them.
Right.
But if you are consistent, hopefully at some point they will be like, yeah, I don't want to keep doing this.
Right. Well, another thing that I've been doing or that I have done is, they said that they have kids and I have kids, and I model in front of my parents the way that I want to be parented to my children.
Yeah.
So when one of my daughters asks for something and she's not being polite about it, I'll say something like, do you think that there's a better way for you to ask me for that will give you a better response from me? And they'll say, like, oh, I'm so sorry. Can I please have more of this or whatever they say? So I'm showing my parents when I feel this certain way and I ask for this from you, there are very easy things that you can do to garner the response from me that you're looking for. And so they see me do that with my girls and they're like, oh, that seemed like a very easy exchange between the two of them. That seemed, and believe me, I'm not a perfect parent. No one is saying that. I'm just saying that these are the things that I've done that have helped me show my parents things that are effective in my relationships with my kids that could therefore be effective and constructive in my relationship with them. Yeah. And when they see that, they say like, oh, I didn't know it wasn't something that was an option. Yeah. I didn't know that was a way that parents talk to their kids because that's not, they were never spoken to that way.
I didn't know you could do that.
Right. That was really easy and that was really effective and nobody's upset.
Yeah. Actually, now that you mentioned that, one of the only times my mom ever apologized to me for the way she parented me growing up was when she watched her younger sister, my aunt, how she was with her kids.
Yeah.
Like taking them to like practices and doing all these things and like being more supportive and authoritarian. Right. And she one time she out of her own accord was like, I just watched your aunt. And she's like, I'm really sorry. I didn't realize that I wasn't doing all these things that you needed. And I was like, oh,
wow.
Okay.
That's something.
But can we make this consistent? I was like, tomorrow, are you going to reset and go back to yourself? That is what happened.
Yeah. But there was progress.
Yeah, there was
There's
progress.
Always a glimmer of hope.
There is. Yeah.
Right. Hope is all we have. Yeah. So
and that was one of the boundaries I had to set to be like, hey, once you come to a realization, that's not it. You have to then actually do it.
And there's something to say too, sometimes about just acquiescing to it and being like, okay, they're not going to change. These are not behavior patterns that they are going to adopt out of nowhere in their 70s, But
unless you like keep yelling at them, which has been mine.
Well, and that's it, maybe. But I think for me, going forward in my parenting journey with my daughters has been very healing for me, where I can do the things that I didn't have the experience with my parents, and I can kind of heal those emotional wounds that way. So that's been really
positive. Which might be a part
me.
of the reason why I still am so demanding of my mom, because I don't have that healing.
Right. Well,
yet maybe anyone out there, just kidding.
Did you read the last one or did I?
I read the last one.
Ugh, this is so long. How can we do better next time? My boyfriend and myself, both mid-20s, had a convo that probably didn't have to get so deep.
Oh, I love those.
Yeah. He told me he really wanted some cool candles. Okay. I can see how this might have happened. Okay. He told me that he wants some really cool candles for his room, preferably a good 2 or 3 wick one of those big hearty ones. And when I saw a great deal, I got 2, but I decided to play it safe with the scents and chose clean smells since not everyone is a fan of extreme smells that are overpowering. I'm one of those
I don't know
people.
how long they've been dating, but I feel like you should know at this point.
Right. Like if my husband gets me something that smells of roses, I'd be like, you don't know me at all. This fucking stinks. Get the fuck out of here. When I told my boyfriend I'd bought him what I bought, his body language and facial expression changed as if he was really disappointed in me. He didn't tell me right off the bat why his demeanor changed, so I had to ask if I did or said something wrong. He said he expected me to pick, quote, cooler, more unique scents and thought I'd know him better by now. However, in my defense, I've only ever seen him light clean, delicate candle scents. So how was I supposed to know that he wanted something extreme? The store was also closing, so I had to decide really quickly on what I wanted to buy and then decide later at home if I wanted to exchange for a different scent. I'm really a really indecisive person. I'm just confused because he requested something with very little details. I feel deeply saddened that I had disappointed him and with my original selection. I expressed that I felt I can't do anything right as his girlfriend. Okay, that's a little extreme because he had seemed so annoyed with me in the morning too when I called him to tell him about the crazy dream that I had of me and him, and he neither confirmed nor denied that. The convo resulted in him speaking in an annoyed tone with me, saying he expected better from me. This is getting a little okay, wait. Which caused me to cry a little because all I wanted was to surprise him with the candle as he requested, but just ended up disappointing and annoying him instead. The convo ended with me asking for some time to reflect, and he said, okay, and just hung up without me saying goodbye. Can I get an opinion on what I could have done better, and was his reaction warranted? Thank you. So if you ask me my opinion, I think this isn't about, obviously this is not about candles. I think when people fight about things that are kind of trivial like this, it's about a greater symptom. And what I think he was trying to communicate is like, I don't feel like you are learning and understanding me in the ways that I want you to. And so I'm going to lash out and make this about candles when it's really just about connection. I don't feel like we're connecting. And then for her to cry about it instead of being like, well, how can I better understand what it is that you need from me? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like communicating is so important. And like being passive aggressive, there was a lot of passive aggressive shit in here. Like I'm trying to tell him about my dream. And then he's just like, whatever. It's like, what are we doing? How old did they say they were?
Early 20s, mid-20s. I didn't. Oh, right. As myself personally, as someone who's neurodivergent, I sometimes tend to get really overwhelmed when expectation and reality don't line up.
Yes, but do you put that on the person or do you put that on yourself for not voicing what those expectations are?
Sometimes my initial reaction is to just get upset about the whole situation. And sometimes it comes off like I'm upset at the person, but I'm really just upset and I need to emote and understand to be able to kind of process it.
So then what is your plan of course of action? Is it you have to separate or do you have a conversation about it in the moment?
I haven't quite figured that one out yet.
Well, things to work on. We can always work on things.
But I think the best route, I think it depends on per person or the situation even. Sometimes you do need to talk it out just to get the understanding, but then maybe even mix both. Then you need to really, you have to have this part where you do the self-reflecting and you need to like tell a different narrative than the one that you're hyper focusing on.
Right.
Like I tend to hyper focus on like the disappointment. And then it's not until I step away that I start to see the other factors and I have to tell myself a different narrative than the one I focused on.
Because the question is then not what I'm upset at. It's what am I really upset at? Why am I really upset? That is the core of like what I ask myself every time my husband and I have any kind of whatever, negative conversation, a fight, whatever it is. What am I really mad at, right? Like when he puts the fucking sponge in the fucking sink instead of hanging it on the fucking sponge hanger. What am I really upset at? I'm upset that I've requested this of him.
Yes, that video was like a year old.
It still happens. Okay? It's still happening. What am I really upset at? Am I really upset at the sponge? Kind of. But I'm really upset because he doesn't listen. I've asked him for something so small that I feel like this is almost some kind of retaliatory action that he's taking against me.
Or like blatant disrespect.
Because at this point, I feel like you're fighting back and you're kind of trying to prove a point.
I see
Is that what's really happening?
I can see that.
So I have to ask myself, am I really upset at this? Or like when my daughters do something that upset me, what am I really upset at? I'm upset because I have made this request of them, or I'm upset because I know she knows better than this. I'm upset because I feel like X, Y, and Z, or whatever. And that is how I try to navigate through my relationships. What am I really mad? I'm mad at that. I'm really mad that I don't have time. I'm really upset that I'm so overwhelmed. I'm really upset that I feel like I can't do anything right because I'm doing so many things. That's what I'm really upset at. That's the greater component to what is aggravating all of these scenarios and situations. So, ask him to ask himself, are you really mad at the candles? Is it about candles? Or are you upset that you feel like I don't actually pay attention to the things that you like?
Also, listening to you and then listening to what I said and rethinking the situation, I think a lot of it also seems to do with the narratives we impose onto things that are done.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why telling yourself a different narrative is probably something you should also do while also telling yourself what you're mad at.
Right.
Because once you tell yourself what you're mad at, you're able to start reassessing the situation from outside of your perspective. And then you're able to see that like, oh, you know what? Maybe my husband just like, this isn't something he cares. Like his brain doesn't
He's just
register.
so hyper-focused on something that's more important in the moment.
Or something else. But this is important to me because like, I'm the one having it, you know what I mean? So like, sometimes there are those things.
Yes.
And I especially, I think people who are very aware and I think that's where the expectation is for me is that like, I have this expectation that things are going to go well, or it's going to go this way, or I'm going to get this thing. And then when it doesn't, the narrative of disappointment, they're not going to care. Like that's what I really focus on that I think I'm just starting to notice. Yeah. So tell yourself a different narrative.
Right.
After you really focus on like what it is about the situation that you're actually mad at.
Right. And also I think in any situation, offering just the smallest bit of empathy to the person for whom you feel offended by or hurt by or whatever, I think goes a long way. Like why does my boyfriend feel so sad about that? Why did it upset him so much that something as small and insignificant as a candle would make him this upset that we have had a 3-day fight?
Yeah.
And ask yourself, like, how can I be more empathetic to him in this situation and get to the root of what this really means to him? I think that's something that's an approach I would take.
And the healthiest way to do that, which is I think the hard part, is to do all of that before you react.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If he had done this before he started putting on the narrative that it's because you don't listen, you don't care for me, like none of this would have happened. Right. And that's the hardest part.
I agree.
That we are all trying to learn to do.
Hopefully, I feel like I always get something out of these. Like I always feel like when I am listening to you give your perspective, or like when I'm talking about things, like I'm really kind of working them out in my own space and in my own head.
Just this last one.
Yeah, I feel like we both are like, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? So I think just as much as this, hopefully, it maybe potentially helped anybody out there, I know that it always helps me to talk things out like this. For sure. So hopefully whoever wrote in, or if you're listening in, this gave you a little bit of insight on, I don't know, something. Some shit. I don't fucking know.
If not, at the very least, entertaining, because you're like, what are these two talking about?
And who the fuck do they think they are, right, Jilly? Who are
you're
we?
Just like, look at this adorable face.
I don't even know nothing about nothing. I'm just a dog mom.
Look at this adorable face.
Hi. Anyway.
On that note, thank you for joining in.
Has your hat been like that this whole time?
This whole time. Oh my God. I haven't moved it. Why? What is happening?
I don't know. I just looked over and I was like, oh, you're wearing a hat.
Yeah. I haven't worn a hat in a while. And that's actually funny you say that because I put it on this morning. I've actually put it on other times and was like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then this morning I put it on. I was like, no, I haven't worn a hat in so long that it feels weird now when I look at it.
Maybe. Okay.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna wear that.
It just like didn't register. And then I looked over and I was like, oh, Ed's wearing a hat today. I was like, bitch, you've been sitting on this couch with him for an hour and a half.
But that's funny. On that note, thank you for joining in with Hat Ed and Susie. But for real, thank you for joining in. What normally happens here? Right. Thank you for joining in. If you aren't already, make sure you join our Patreon. I don't really know what the wording on that is, but make sure you make sure you join our Patreon to become a producer. There are different levels there, but We do try to give you guys some exclusive content there as well to make it, valuable. But in reality, it's really helpful to us to make this podcast sustainable. It takes up a lot of our time. And
effort.
as much as we love doing it, it still needs, and as much as we get like the emotional and physical healing and stuff too, like
we still have bills.
Yeah.
Lots of bills.
Yeah. Still have to keep things sustainable. So if you can, it would be greatly appreciated. Otherwise, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow us on all of our socials.
Oh, you can find me at Soogia on Instagram and TikTok.
I don't think this one has one yet, but you can follow me at Etch a Sketch with a J, and you can follow the podcast at What in the Shibal, Shibal. Make sure you write in with any questions, advice, stories. If you have any food ones, for our food idea that hopefully we can do after we get enough submissions, write us to at whatintheshibal, Shibal @gmail.com. I don't know why my voice cracked there. Would you like fries with that? But thank you for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring the bell.
Told you I'm tired. Ding.
Otherwise, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next one.
Okay, bye.